Hello, good evening and good afternoon from here in Calgary, Alberta. My name is Elias Munsha, and I'm coming live to you from Calgary, Alberta, where it is about -6 degrees Celsius. But we are surviving, I think. We will do just fine. We're getting used to this weather. Okay. So thank you for joining me today. Please share with as many people as possible because we've got to deal with some very exciting things today. Very exciting. So I just want to discuss with you. So if you are able to just see here my StreamYard link, just go to StreamYard, click there, and then I'll be able to let you in and we can have some kind of a discussion. Today, we are going to speak in English for much of the presentation because we have Americans that are listening to us today. Americans, because they are following the Trump American election. And so we'll be speaking with them as well. So we have got to use English. And so if you have any question or anything that you want to contribute, you're welcome and you can also connect. Again, my name is Elias Munsha, coming to you live from here in Calgary. Share with as many people as possible. If you are on Facebook Live, please share and then like our page. If you are on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can discuss. The first order of business today, I think we've got to talk about the Trump court cases. Okay, the cases that President Trump and the Trump campaign have started in several parts of the United States. Okay, the reason why we need to talk about this is to clear some misconceptions of what is going on and try to help people understand some of the things that are going on. Okay. So as you are aware, there was an election on the 3rd of November in America. And so most of the media, okay, they have called the election for Mr. Joe Biden to be the president-elect, okay? However, President Trump has not conceded. So President Trump has not conceded. He feels like there was fraud and he's sharing several information about it. And so he has also gone to court. He has sued and he has gone to court. I just want to bring to your attention several court actions that have been started and where they are at, okay? I'll begin with Pennsylvania. So the Trump campaign is in court in Pennsylvania. He's suing several county election boards. One of them is Buck County and Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. And so they are suing specifically to exclude certain ballots. So apparently, some of the mail-in ballots were missing signatures, or they were missing a typo here and there, or somebody did not fully fill it according to the instructions. And the Trump campaign has sued to have those excluded. At the present time, I think there are about 500 votes that they're suing to exclude in Pennsylvania. And so in court, it's not going very well for the Trump campaign. It's not going very well because, you see, when you are outside court, it's very easy to make all these allegations like President Trump is doing, making all these allegations on Twitter and saying a lot of things about fraud. But when you actually go in court, you are supposed to present evidence and not just wild allegations. And so unless you really present evidence, it's very difficult for a court to rule in your favor. And so that is the struggle that the Trump campaign has in Pennsylvania. They want certain ballots excluded, but of course, some of the Trump lawyers in Pennsylvania were being asked by the judge to say, okay, this is what you were saying about these ballots, but is there fraud associated with these ballots? And the Trump campaign lawyer was forced to say that, no, they are not alleging any fraud at the moment. And it's very important for you to understand that lawyers, typically, you have to hold off from alleging fraud If there is something else that you can use to explain a particular grievance, it's better to avoid fraud. Because if you alleged fraud, then fraud has a much higher standard of proof. And in fact, costs that are going to be leveled against you are much higher if you allege fraud and fail to prove it. And so I think the Trump lawyers are doing maybe a good job going before judges and saying that, no, we are not alleging any fraud. We just want you to see that these particular ballots did not follow the law. And in an election with over 150 million ballots, you will definitely going to find a few mistakes here and there. The Trump campaign's challenge is to convince judges that actually these little mistakes here and there did impact on the integrity of the election. That is a very tall order to climb. And I'm very skeptical of Mr. Trump's case in court, of whether it is going to be successful. I really doubt those actions are going to be successful. That is in Pennsylvania. In Nevada, we do understand that the Trump campaign has withdrawn the challenge of the Nevada election. This has just come in very recently. So they've gone out of the court in Nevada. They are no longer pursuing a court action in Nevada. In Arizona, there was a hearing today, and the Trump campaign is making the same allegations in Arizona that there was something wrong with the election, particularly in Maricopa County. And so that is, again, the judges today were asking whether there is fraud in Maricopa, and the Trump lawyers are saying no. Their issue is not with fraud, but rather their issue is that some people allege that the election was not properly done. That is in Arizona. In Michigan, the Trump campaign wishes to disqualify at least elections in 3 counties. And these counties are mainly black counties, okay? Primarily black counties where the electorate is significantly black. And so one of the issues we have to deal with as far as Michigan is concerned is why Mr. Trump and the Trump campaign feels that the black electorate in Michigan has no integrity. And therefore, he has to go to those counties and try to disqualify that election. We understand that he's also in Wisconsin trying to push for a recount in Wisconsin. Again, I am very skeptical of whether the recount in Wisconsin is actually going to yield any different result. So when you look at all these together, it's very difficult for President Trump and his campaign to actually succeed. That's why there is no legal solution to the grievances that the Trump campaign has, and so I don't see a path there. You could be here and you think there is a path, you know. If you think that there is a path, let me know. But I'm quite skeptical that there is a legal path to Mr. Trump's grievances. The other thing is, because Joe Biden has won, okay, so has won, or he's leading in Georgia, which is predominantly a red state, Republican state, and it votes Republican presidential candidates since 1996, okay? And he has also won in Arizona. The challenge for the Trump campaign is that it is not enough for them to overturn the results in Arizona and Georgia alone. Then they've got to overturn the results in Georgia, in Arizona, in Pennsylvania, for Mr. Trump to stand a chance of crossing the 270 electoral college line, electoral college votes, which is pretty tough. We need to be honest here. It's extremely difficult for Mr. Trump to prosecute these cases in 10 states and have judges reverse results in 10 states. Its chances are extremely slim, okay? And so that is what he's trying to do. I think he's running out of time, and he's just trying to do everything that he can to try and bring confusion. But more than just the legal route, I think President Trump is just trying to push a lot of pessimism and just bring a lot of confusion with the way the elections were done, which is pretty sad. And the reason why we, as non-Americans, are concerned is because if we let this kind of thing to happen in America, it means it's likely to happen everywhere else. And it's likely to happen everywhere else. And if it happened everywhere else, America is an important country. And so we cannot let fascism and a dictatorship to take root in America, right? America belongs to all of us. Americans have stood up for the rule of law, for democracy across the world, and we cannot sit back and say that, no, it's okay for a dictator to try and say that he has won when he has lost. And I know there are several of my people in Zambia who are just supporting Trump, and they're like, yeah, Trump won. No, he did not win, he lost. That is what the elections are saying. And so for him to say that he's going to use judges and lawyers, it's not going to work. Okay? The math just doesn't add up, unfortunately. It really doesn't add up at all, the math. Okay, so that is my link. I've shared it again. So it really doesn't add up, and you shouldn't listen, particularly Zambia. Don't listen to some people in America that are telling you that there is a chance that this election can be overturned or anything like that. There is no chance. This election is not going to be overturned. And I think Mr. Joe Biden will be taking over as president of the US. Okay? All right. We've got to move from the Trump issue here and move somewhere else, to some other issues. Okay, that was it about Trump and the US elections. The next thing is voter registration in Zambia. The question is voter registration in Zambia. Okay, let me see if I can see here. Adam K. Piri, Pompeo, the Secretary of State, has also added his voice, purporting that there will be a second term of Trump. Yeah, and that is the concern, because Mr. Pompeo is the one who is spreading the voice of democracy around the world, and then in America he says that there is a transition to the Trump administration, which is pretty concerning. I think we own people of goodwill around the world will do very well to continue speaking to the Trump administration to respect the voice of the American people and adhere to the rule of law, okay? Respect the electoral outcome in America, because all these challenges are leading nowhere. And Mr. Pompeo, it's very sad what he said the other day. It's completely without concrete evidence. It's unnecessary. That's the concern. Chongo, election fraud is normal. The fraud is negligible, inconsequential. Yeah, I think so. It's pretty inconsequential. Yeah, because in the year 2000, in the Bush versus Gore case, that was pretty very clear. They were fighting over one state, Florida. Okay, they were fighting over one state, the state of Florida, and during that time, the transition was also ongoing. Okay, the transition was ongoing, and both candidates were receiving security briefs, depending on how the court was going to rule. But what is happening in 2020 is not what happened in the year 2000. Again, one state. And the question was limited to counting the ballots. How long should they continue counting ballots? Okay. The state court said that no, continue counting. That's what the state court said. The Supreme Court said no. When Bush went to the Supreme Court, you've said you've counted, it's enough. You can't continue counting in perpetuity. And so they put a stop to that, and Mr. Bush was declared the winner by about 536 votes, one state. But what Mr. Trump is trying to do here is not just focused on one state. And in the Gore case, in the Bush and Gore case, there was no allegation of fraud, right? It was just, let us continue counting until we finished all the counting. But the Supreme Court said that there is a limit on when you are supposed to stop counting. And so you cannot continue counting in perpetuity. The state of Florida has already declared a winner. The media have also projected George W. Bush to be the winner. So George W. Bush is the president-elect. But in this case, in 2020, President Trump is going after 10 states. Basically, he's saying that unless a state voted for him, the result is fraudulent, which is pretty unusual, right? And again, 10 states. That's very difficult. And the thing is, so in some states, he's telling them that they've got to stop the count. In other states, he's saying that continue counting. So in North Carolina, for example, Mr. Trump was leading by 100,000 votes, and he's encouraging them to continue counting in North Carolina. In Arizona, Mr. Biden is leading by about 10,000 votes, and Mr. Trump is encouraging Arizona to continue counting, right? However, when it comes to Pennsylvania, Mr. Trump says, no, don't continue counting, stop the count, and reverse the results that you have to the time on November 3rd when he was leading in Pennsylvania. So you see that even the arguments that they are trying to make are not intellectually sound. There is no logic, okay? There is no logic to their argument. That's why this thing stands a very little chance to succeed in court, all right? It does not appear like they can be successful. What if Biden rigged? Rigged what? That Biden rigged in the 10 states or in the 20 states he's won? He rigged? Yeah. Yeah, yes, Mubanga Nasieku, the silence of the Republicans is quite concerning. Yeah. It's quite concerning. Okay. So Ronald Hunda, we love President Trump, but it's time to prepare his exit and concentrate on his business. No, I think he still wants to stand and is likely to stand in 2024. He knows there is no legal path. Okay, everyone who is serious knows there is no legal path. Okay, it just isn't there. Okay, maybe the courts might be convinced and reverse one of the states. I don't know. Okay, let's just give him that they will reverse one state. Even if they reversed one or two states, it would still not make a difference for Mr. Trump. He's lost. You see the difficulty that he's facing. It's not like the Bush versus Gore in 2000, where they are both at the mark of crossing to 270 if Florida gets called for either side. Here, Mr. Trump is so much behind from crossing the 270 line that even if he were successful in one or two or three states, he would still not win, right? But of course, we know that he's trying to raise money off this. And his supporters are spending money, sending him money for lawyers. But the fine print there is saying that this money actually can be redirected to Mr. Trump's future plans. Okay, so it's quite interesting as it is going. I'm a preacher, and so there are some people who are coming to my inbox and saying that you as a preacher and a Christian, why are you supporting Mr. Biden and not Mr. Trump? And I'm like, no, we do not just support people because they are Christian or non-Christian. We support people because they are going to respect others, to respect human life, to respect Black people. Okay, very important. Because if you are calling Black people as animals and everything else, then you have no human decency. Unfortunately, you have no human decency. American Blacks are complaining that the police sometimes are very, very brutal towards Black people. And a reasonable leader would say, how can I listen to the pain of these Blacks so that we can try to find a solution? You don't stand up and begin insulting the Black Lives Matter. I think that is not Christian. And so it is a concern that I should continue supporting Mr. Trump, because apparently some people perceive him to be more Christian than Mr. Biden. Okay, so that is the reason. I don't think Mr. Trump has basic human decency or moral authority, and so Americans have voted against him, and so I respect Americans' vote, and he should respect it too. Okay, yeah. It's not like Zambia. You can't just rig an election. Chileshe Ellis, yes, it's not. Yeah, because that's the concept that some of the people in Zambia have. American elections are not administered by one central body known as the Electoral Commission of the US. No, they are all administered by specific states, and the rules for elections are set by the legislatures of those states. And most legislatures of those states are actually controlled by Republicans. Pennsylvania, for example, it is Republican-controlled legislature that came up with the rules for mailing ballots. This is the thing that Mr. Donald Trump and his supporters are not saying. Most of the rules for ballot, for mailing ballot, were set by Republican-led legislatures in the particular states, like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, like Wisconsin, like Arizona. The mailing ballot rules were set by these legislatures. So it's quite shocking that Mr. Trump is actually turning not only against Biden or Democrats, he's turning against his own people, his own Republicans, fellow Republicans, because they're the ones who set the rules for the mailing ballots. So unless something benefits him personally, Mr. Trump is willing to throw this country into chaos, throw America into chaos, as long as it's not, as long as it benefits him personally, which is pretty concerning, right? Yeah, he's willing to throw everybody under the bus. There is a commissioner of Montgomery, is it Philadelphia commission, Electoral Commission in Philadelphia, a Republican. Mr. Trump named him on the, called him out on his Facebook, and that gentleman is now receiving a lot of death threats. He's a Republican. So you see that this is a gentleman who has no respect for others. As long as you are doing something that does not go according to his own wishes, he's willing to sacrifice and do anything to eliminate you, unfortunately. So many Republicans, many reasonable Republicans have no recourse. In Georgia, the governor of Georgia is a Republican. The Secretary of State for Georgia is a Republican as well. And they count all the votes and they say that George Biden. They see that that Vice President Biden, Joe Biden, is leading. They are Republicans. They've counted the votes. Mr. Trump is saying that that Secretary of State is not strong enough, is not good enough. He has rigged the election against him. You see what is happening here. So to my people in Zambia, please do not just support somebody because they tell you that they are Christian. That is not how you can inspire good democratic credentials in a country. So you cannot just say because Mr. Trump supports a vocal section of our Christian community, the evangelical section, therefore he's good. No, there is some decency that is involved. Respect for human rights, very important. You cannot have a president whose duty every day is to insult others, to incite others against, to incite people against officers of the country. Always in his language, it's always division, us against them. It's never about America. No, it's about his version of America. Only his supporters are the ones that matter. And you, as a Zambian, you are saying that no, chive, you just have to support Mr. Trump. I think there is a reason. If you want to support him, then do. But do not say that you are still going to support him even when he has lost an election. That is not fair. That is not right. A very clear election. And American elections, this is the way American elections have always been held. The media in America, this is what makes America to be one of the greatest nations on earth. It's transparency. In America, you do not wait for the official state to declare a winner. In America, what happens is they have numbers for everybody to know who are the registered voters, how many people went to vote, and when the results are coming, you can even have a pen and you are calculating the result, and you can make a projection. And it is out of that mathematical projection that now the media play that democratic role of projecting a winner. And when the media have made a projected winner, it has so happened that that person begins arranging a transition. Official results always lag behind. They take weeks and weeks for official results to be in. In 2016, Hillary Clinton conceded defeat on the night of the elections, even before all the ballots had been counted. The reason was that the media had made all the calculations, and they said Trump had won Ohio, Trump had won Michigan, Trump had won Wisconsin, Trump had won Pennsylvania from the media calculations. And then they declared Donald Trump to be the president-elect on the night of the elections in 2016. Hillary Clinton could have made things difficult and say she was not going to concede. She looked at the math, she looked at the media reports and conceded, congratulated Mr. Trump. The following day, Mr. Trump even went to Obama's house at the White House, was hosted, because he was the presumed winner, and the entire state machinery, federal machinery, started now beginning to prepare for Mr. Trump to take over, even before the Electoral College had sat, even before the official certification of results had taken place. This is exactly what is happening in 2020. But in 2020, Mr. Trump, he loses, and he is refusing to accept that he has lost. That's all. You see? That's the only difference. So all these things you are making up, particularly my people in Zambia, this thing you're making up that it's the media that have projected, that is what the media have been doing. In America, the media project a winner. And how do they project a winner? They use mathematics, addition and subtraction. That's all they do. Then they project the winner, and then the state continues counting, and then after the state continues counting, and then the officials of that state now are going to do what? To make a final tally. That's why it's very difficult to do what? To rig an American election, because there are so many interested parties, including the media, that are watching the way you are conducting your election. Very important. They are watching. They are watchdogs. That's what the media do. That's why a state can't change. You know exactly the trajectory of how the results are going. The media has already calculated. It's math. They've already done the projection. So a state can't change at a later stage and put in other ballots from nowhere. No, they're going to say, this is the projection. What is happening here? That's exactly what is happening in 2020. But we are adding this voice because we are genuinely concerned at America. We cannot say that, no, it doesn't matter. We are going to concentrate on Zambia. No, America does comment on Zambian elections. America does comment on any other elections. We have a duty to comment on American elections. Why not? Particularly when there is somebody who has a very huge machinery of fake news and misinformation that unfortunately our people have caught on to. And they're saying that, yes, this is misinformation. There is no rigging in this election. Yeah. Okay. So over, we are done with the American system, unless if you have any other question. Okay. Now, how is the voter registration going in Zambia? How is it going? How are you doing? with voter registration. We understand that it did not start very well. The lines are too long and it's understaffed. We hope that the Electoral Commission of Zambia will attend to this as soon as possible. But you tell me, how has been your experience registering as a voter? How is it going for you? So we have seen that some are taking 6 hours, others longer than that, just queuing up. Okay, we hope that they are going to extend the voter registration period. We hope that they are going to hire more people to help with this, and that the equipment is going to work. In some registration in Mushindano, is it Mushindano? What is the name of that district in Solwezi? The district in Solwezi, I'll get its name shortly. The district in Solwezi, the NRCs that have been issued by that district in Solwezi, they can't be entered into the new system of the ECZ, so they can't register any voters, which is pretty sad. When we expressed concern at what was happening with the registration of voters in Zambia, some of us were attacked. You know, like, we are not just we're not positive about Zambia, but no, the whole reason was the math was not just adding up. Because at this pace, there is no way that you are going to register 9 million voters if you are taking 20 minutes or even 30 minutes to register one voter. Okay? The pre-registration, in most cases, it's just insignificant. It doesn't mean that when you pre-register, then they are going to fast track your card. No, you are going to line up just like everyone else and spend all those hours on the queue. Okay? This is a botched attempt. Very, very sad. So we hope that the powers that be, you know, the president, the ECZ, are going to come up and say, how can we correct this, right? So it's already in they are already doing it now. The best thing that they can do is hire more workers, but training, you know, train them as soon as possible. Hire good machines that can work, more power generators, more diesel generators, because apparently there are issues with power, and extend the registration period. There is just no other way. Okay, extend it so that people have sufficient time. Mushindano, yes, that's the district. Mushindano district. Mushindano district is what, stroke 29 on NRCs? Because it's a new district, I think it's stroke 29. So if it's stroke 29, then what it means is that it's not being accepted in the system, and so because of that, more people are going to be disenfranchised. Okay, so that is what is happening. But please go and register as voters. I encourage you to do that. It is the right thing to do. Even if the system is slow, go ahead, go and line up and participate in having a voice. Okay, yeah, and so we want to see that. And you understand, you don't know who even won. John Mandumbwa, sorry, what is this in connection with John? Because sometimes I don't see the threads, right? My system here doesn't show me whether you are actually responding to someone. K for life, our system is a total mess. Yes, I just hope, K, that people are going to be persistent and stay. I'm told Americans have no voters cards. They vote using IDs. Is this true? Again, because America is a collection of countries, okay? That's the most important thing to know. America is not like one big country. It's a collection of countries that make one big country. And each of these countries that is known as a state, they are known as states, they've got their own rules about how you can vote. Typically, Republicans lean towards making it much more difficult for people to vote. Democrats lean towards making it easier for people to vote. And so there is always that issue there. Republicans feel like if you include everybody in an election, they're not likely to do well. Republicans, okay? Democrats feel like if you included everybody in voting, the more people you include, the better the chance that they have. In any case, it's a fundamental constitutional issue in America that Americans have the right to vote, and all Americans. So there are some sections of Americans who believe that they somehow have a better right to vote than others. You know? And so this is where the issue of systemic problems come in. There are some, for example, who insist that in order for a person to vote, they must have a signature or they must write something. But you're going to see that insisting that people have a signature might disenfranchise a certain section of Americans who neither can read nor write. Okay? So we think that all Americans read or Americans write. There are some Americans who cannot read and they cannot write. So if you make writing and reading as part of the conditions for registering as a voter, those particular Americans are going to be disenfranchised. Okay? So there is always this battle between, excuse me, there is always this battle, and it is going to continue. All right? Edward Kayenda, are you ready to say something? You okay? Edward doesn't look ready. Okay. Chibs Chichi, have you registered as a voter?
No, not yet. I've not registered because I'm not in the country at present.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm currently in Turkey. Though I'm a bit confused. I'm not really. How can I put it? I don't really understand the Constitutional Court's decision in terms of why they decided to change the question that was asked to them, and then why they answered one question but then they left us hanging with the other one, because that is what is making every Zambian, or that is what is bringing problems.
Oh,
when you look at
the case already,
huh?
Are we moving to the case already?
I thought you had already talked about it.
All right, okay. Danny Pule case. Okay, we are going to deal with that. Danny Pule case is going to put us in problems. Wiseman, have you heard that I should talk about Danny Pule case? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think you should talk about that one.
No, but you've already got conclusions, Wiseman.
Yeah, we already
have made conclusions, and so we are not listening to each other.
Okay.
So you see, when I explain my position, you're going to see because okay, I'll try.
Yeah, okay.
See, Wiseman, for me to explain anything about the Danny Pule case, I need to know exactly what the questions we are asking. What do you think is the main question with the Danny Pule case?
Okay. First of all, I wanted to comment about the voters card.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I've got one. I've got mine.
Okay.
And it's very safe, waiting for 2021 to come. Because I will be retiring some politicians.
Congratulations, good job. Yeah.
Except I got it at the Kabwe, which is Civic Center, near the office of the mayor. It was too slow. They only had one person with one machine. It took me and my two guys whom I got to go and make noise there at Civic Center, which has made them to increase. Now there are 3 machines which are capturing people. At least now queue is moving. But I'm telling you, the quality of a voter's card is poor. I don't even think so you can call that one a card. If you can see it, you'll be very shocked. Even to touch it, you'll be very shocked. The quality
Wow.
itself is poor. The system, the management is poor, everything. But I'm encouraging all Zambians never to be tempted maybe to frustrate you, whatever, not for you to get a voter's card. Just go there, queue up, make sure you get the card. That is the only
All
thing
right.
that's going to liberate our country.
Thank you, Wiseman. Thank you. So there is a question here where it's asking, as a theologian, what's your view on the open support for Trump being exhibited by our fellow evangelicals? Now, are these Zambian evangelicals or evangelicals in America? I think this is a time for reckoning as far as white evangelicals are concerned. I'm really concerned at the way white evangelicals support Mr. Trump. I think I'm greatly concerned. I think there is a disconnect there. I think white evangelicals have betrayed fundamental issues of their faith. And I think white evangelicals vote or support Mr. Trump for several reasons. Number one is one of the major issues with the Obama-Biden administration. A very, very big problem with the Obama-Biden administration. You see, Obama and Biden are Christian. They are Christian, but they did not do a very good job reaching out to evangelicals during their tenure, such that evangelicals started feeling like the state was going to interfere with their institutions, evangelical institutions, be it universities or churches. I think that is where the suspicion came from. But the cure that they had when they found Mr. Trump was that Mr. Trump was an imperfect cure. And I think the question was, do they go for Mr. Trump, this imperfect cure, and support him all the way? And I think that's what white evangelicals did. But in order to do that, they received a benefit in the sense that the state then was going to try and protect the evangelicals, protect their institutions. But in so doing, Mr. Trump was unpredictable. He started saying things and doing things that were really hurting the Christian faith, particularly his racism, racism, daily insult of insulting other Americans. That was a major concern. And so now that they have a second chance here, I think white American evangelicals should redeem themselves and separate, be very clear and say that we supported this gentleman because we thought that he would protect us, but he's not it, right? Yeah. So I think it was more inspired about protecting themselves as evangelicals. Okay. That's what I think. So now I think, should we now move to the Danny Pule case? I've already spoken on the Danny Pule case, but several of my friends have a very different view, and I want to respect that view, but I want to limit what we are really talking about when we are talking about the Danny Pule case, okay? Because arguments are all over the map. Some of them are not really legal arguments. Some of them are political arguments. I'm not a politician. Even if I appear like I'm a politician, I'm not really a politician, right? And so I don't take positions that are much more favorable to one political party over another. I'm very, very neutral, okay? So if it's a legal question that you are asking and you want me to offer my perspective on a particular legal question, I am willing to do that. But my perspective might be very different from the politicians who believe that if Lungu is made ineligible to stand in 2021, they benefit politically. But that is not my role. And if you want to hear my opinion about the Danny Pule case, I can let you know. Again, on the Danny Pule case, All these other questions that you are discussing about the Constitution, I don't, it can go either way. And I agree with you. The question really is on the Danny Pule case. Has the Danny Pule case done what we are saying it has done? That is where the question is. Okay? Yeah. So has it done what we are saying that it has done? And so we have two groups of people about the Danny Pule case. One group says it has made Lungu eligible. Another group says the Danny Pule case did not make Lungu eligible. Okay? And so the confusion is, if I say that the Danny Pule case made Lungu eligible, here is the problem. You are coming after me saying that I have said that Lungu is eligible. We need to restrict legal questions to the actual question that is being asked. Here is the question. Has the Danny Pule case made Lungu eligible to stand in 2021? Here is my answer. Yes. Okay? Has the Danny Pule case made Lungu eligible to stand in 2021? Yes. Was it the right decision? If I were the Constitutional Court judge making this decision, will I have agreed? No, I would have disagreed. Okay? But what is the current state of the law? It is the Danny Pule case. And so what has the Danny Pule case said? The Danny Pule case has said the term of office from 2015 to 2016 shall not be counted when computing presidential term limits. That is the ratio of the Danny Pule case. That is what the judges said in the Danny Pule case. The term of office from 2015 to 2016 will not be counted when computing presidential term limits. That's what the Danny Pule case says. Okay? Therefore, the question becomes, is it possible to challenge the eligibility of Lungu using Article 52 of the Constitution? My opinion, you can use Article 52 to challenge the eligibility of anyone. However, I do not think that a person who challenges Lungu on the basis of the 2015 to 2016 term is likely to succeed in view of the Danny Pule case from the Constitutional Court. Some of my friends are saying that there is a difference between running for office, serving a term of office, and being sworn into office twice. In view of the Danny Pule case, all those are semantics. Okay? Unfortunately. Can a person succeed in challenging the candidacy of President Lungu, President C. Lungu, on the basis of the 2015-2016 term being an office? You know, I need to be honest, I really don't see it. Can you challenge him? Most likely. Can that challenge succeed? Legally, I don't see that challenge succeeding. But I'm not a politician. It's up to the politicians to promote certain political views that are in their best interest. But I've always told you, my fellow Zambians, that for me, I really have an opinion based on how I see something, and I advise you, you can take it or not. I'm not UPND, I'm not PF, I'm just Elias Munsha of Chiwempala. That is it. But one of the concerns that I have as far as the rule of law is that lawyers must be fair in the way they are looking at decisions from court. some of my friends are saying that the Danny Pule case does not solve this problem, and therefore they are going to still challenge this particular person. And they're saying that the Danny Pule case did not answer the questions. And I'm like, we really must be serious as lawyers. In view of a very clear decision from the Constitutional Court, how can you then say that this decision is not clear when the decision is clear? This is not about whether I like Lungu or I want Lungu to run. I don't want Lungu to run. I would like him to resign today or tomorrow. You see, he has destroyed our country. He continues to be surrounded by thieves. They are stealing every day contracts, substandard infrastructure. That is why we need not to vote for this gentleman. But that is not the same as arguing that Danny Pule case was not clear. Should it have been decided differently? Of course. Elias Chipimo did a review for SEIPA's journal, and he has issued very good instructions in it. I think I agree with him. He has analyzed the Danny Pule case, and everybody analyzing the Danny Pule case may say, yes, indeed, there is an argument to be made that it was wrongly decided. We can do that. But to say that it therefore did not decide this question is being dishonest, in my opinion. All right. Anyone? Chichi, do you think that I answered the question?
I think you are basically saying exactly what I'm thinking. The only problem I have is our constitution, the way it's written, it's so rigid and it's so absolute in that it gives instructions for everything. So with that decision that was made, when you read through the constitution and then you compare it, when you read the 2015 constitution and the 1996 constitution, it seems like they have sort of created sort of like a wrong precedence, like you are saying. That's how I see it personally.
Okay, no. Okay, so let's deal with the issue of precedence. The problem is some of my friends are saying that Danny Pule case sets a precedent. But Danny Pule case does not set a precedent for the future. Danny Pule case answers the question of a very specific time frame. The Danny Pule case is not a precedent for the future, meaning Danny Pule case changes the constitution. No. Danny Pule case answers what should happen to a presidential term that straddled two constitutional eras, meaning the 1996 era and the 2016 era. How do we resolve that problem? That is what Danny Pule case answers. We are not going to have another problem of that nature. It was seeking to answer, since we have entered into this new particular era, how do we deal with that 14 months? Is it 14 months? From about January 2015 to August 2016. About what? About 18 months. How do we handle that 18 months? That is what Danny Pule is dealing with. That 18 months is not likely to be repeated in future. It was specifically to that. should that 18 months be interpreted with the lens of 1996 or the lens of 2016? That was the problem that the Constitutional Court was answering. There were two choices. They were either going to side with 1996 or they were going to side with 2016. The Constitutional Court decided to take the 2016 route and use it to cover the gap of that intersection. So is it completely bad to do that? There could be some arguments that why they shouldn't have done that, but there are also some arguments why they could have done it. So going into all these deep, very extremely deep and complicated arguments and technical arguments are not going to be helpful legally, unfortunately. Because I don't foresee that the same judges who said that 2015 and 2016 should be interpreted from the 2016 perspective, and therefore that term cannot be regarded as a term of office for the sake of computing electoral term limits. I don't foresee the same court disqualifying a person who was president during that time. When the Pule case says that we are not going to compute it when computing electoral term limits. That is where my concern is. So politicians, of course, can invest resources into this question because they have an interest in it. And I encourage them. Maybe that's why I cannot serve very well as a politician. But politicians have a vested interest, and it is in their best interest to try and challenge Lungu's eligibility. And I can't say either way. But from the legal perspective, I'm quite skeptical that a challenge on Lungu on the basis of the 2015 to 2016 term is going to be successful. Okay. If politicians feel like it's really a good political argument to make, they can do that. Right? Joe Kunda, your interpretation is 40, but I respect your opinion and your legal understanding of the matter. Besides, okay, all right. My interpretation of the Pule decision is 40. My interpretation of the Pule case is 40. Okay. Only blind people and hypocrites can say Lungu is eligible to stand for a third term. So is the law retrospective in the Pule case? The term was served under the 1996 Constitution. Yeah. But you could also say that it was also served under the 2016 Constitution, because Lungu served 1 year under 96 and then he served the other one under 2016. So he served about 8 months under 2016. So, and you see how lawyers struggle with these questions, right? So the essence of lawyering is very rarely do we have absolute answers to the questions that we engage with as lawyers. And this is quite disappointing, right? Yeah, so this is the question we have to wrestle with. How then do you bring answer or clarity to an issue where one term starts in under 1996, and then another term, this guy continues into the 2016? It's a genuine question. If we get into 2016, How are we going to do it? And that's the question that the judges were faced with. And they decided to say, for the sake of computing term limits, that one is not going to be a term. Okay. DDCL held office, sworn twice, elected twice. All these happened to him. He held office, he was sworn twice, and he was elected twice. Okay? All that are applicable to President Lungu. Okay? I thought a more straightforward way is to think of the maximum years one can be president, which is 10 years, no more than under whatever circumstances. This should be very easy to work out. No, in actual fact, a term of office under the Zambian constitution can range between 8 years to 13 years. So a person can be president from 8 years to about 13 years. The question is whether a particular time that a person serves is computed as a term for the sake of term limits or not. Yeah. Charles promised Katete, Lungu is not eligible. Okay. Michael William, so you mean to tell me, according to the language you lawyers have, I will vote for humble president for the third time. Please don't vote for him. Don't vote for him. Okay? Vote for others, because the PF is a very corrupt government. Don't vote for them. Mr. Kanika.
Yes, comrade.
Let Nidiash.
Yeah. No, ninkonke ya Temfest ya Bakateka. But what I've seen is I wish the opposition can concentrate more in terms of campaigning on the wrongs the government have done, as compared to spend much of the energy on the thing of the term, third, second, or whatever term, because most of the people they are talking to actually, who puts these people into office, are mostly marketeers, bus drivers, and that, who may not even understand some of these things. So the best thing is better people explain to say, look, you are failing to buy more imiseke shama tomato because fertilizer na barunda or whatever thing is happening. I think people understand in that way, and like trying to go in the legal or language, most of the people don't understand.
But I think this issue is not only being pushed by politicians. Some of our friends in the legal fraternity as well feel like there is real traction there. And but I really don't see it. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to disappoint many of you. I really don't see traction that a court is going to disqualify Lungu to run in 2021. I don't see it.
Just like you have mentioned, and you have kept your stand since the time, even when it was in the court, when even the ruling came out, which you mentioned, to say no, the court has cleared the president to stand for the third term. So meaning that there is nothing that can be done, but what is just needed is to explain what alternatives people have on the table, unlike what is provided now. I think if more energy can be spent on that, for me, it is going to yield more results as compared to this thing of, no, let's go to court, what we are going to do this. I think it may not be very much selling to the members of the public. So for me, that's the advice I can just give, for people to just explain what they intend to do when they are given the opportunity to be in office.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kanika. In fact, they can rule forever under our current if one leader keeps resigning just before 3 years. Man, Brayo, that is not true. I think we just, you see, that is not true. Our constitution still remains our constitution. What you are saying is just not true. I'm sorry. To say that the Danny Pule case has substantially reinterpreted the constitution is not true. The only thing that the Danny Pule case did was answering the question of what should happen to that term of office that straddled two constitutional eras. That's it. Do not make Danny Pule become the case, the reason why a person can be resigning after every 3 years, before the 3 years. No, our constitution remains strong and vibrant. Do not unnecessarily alarm our people. When Bill 10 was there to alarm our people, we were there. Okay? But the Danny Pule case is not that issue at all, please. The issue is sown twice, elected twice. If he didn't hold office, then he committed treason because 18 months tenure was illegal. Abson Sesa, no. I don't know how I can explain this. The time that President Lungu served as president from 2015 to 2016, it does not mean that he did not hold office. It does not mean that he was not elected. It does not mean that he never held office. No, he did. The question is, for the sake of computing presidential term limits, for the sake of imputing presidential term limits, should that term count? It is not a question of whether there was a substantive president. Lungu was the substantive president during that period. The question being asked is not whether he held office or he was sworn into office or any of this confusion that I'm hearing from some of our people. The question was, when computing presidential term limits, should that count? That's the question, which the Constitutional Court answered in Danny Pule and said that term of office that straddled two constitutional eras should not count when computing presidential term limits. Okay? The decision in Danny Pule is not conclusive. Let the court deal with the specific questions. Okay. All right. Good luck. Watching you from Solwezi, Northwestern, you are a real wise man. Educate Zambian lawyers who are corrupt. I really don't think Zambian lawyers are corrupt. I think lawyers always have difference in opinions. Sometimes we find ourselves on the same side of the question. Sometimes we don't find ourselves on the same side of the question. The only concern I have is where some lawyers are saying that Danny Pule was not conclusive. That troubles me, okay? I think you can disagree with a court decision, but to say that it is not conclusive or to say that it did not answer the question, that concerns me, okay? That really troubles me, okay? Yeah. I disagree with Danny Pule, but to say that it did not answer the question of what should happen to the 2015-2016 term, that's just being illogical. I can't go with that. No. then what do you call that period, or what does the court code it? It's a term. It's a term of office. It was in office. He served. He was president. He was elected twice. He was sworn twice. That's what it is. All right. So the question is not whether President Lungu was elected in 2015 or whether he was sworn in or anything of that. The question is whether, for the sake of computing presidential term limits, that 2015 to 2016 should count or not. And Danny Pule says it shouldn't count. And the reason they gave was that it's because it straddled two constitutional eras, the 1996 and the 2016 era. Because it straddled two eras, they gave Lungu a benefit of doubt. Basically. Simple. And that is what the question is. Please do not try to expand it into things that it does not say. Nomination form talks of elected twice, held office, and so on twice. Oh my God. Okay, so I think there was a form that was being circulated. A form is not the law. Okay. A prescribed form is not a constitution. Let me digress a little bit and talk about the clause known as domicility, domicile. Okay, very, very interesting. In 1996, Chiluba wanted to fix certain people. Okay, let me tell you where the domicile thing comes from. Chiluba wanted to fix certain people. So I'm just digressing for the sake of interest. So Nevas Mumba did not live in Zambia from about 1980 to 86 or 87. Try to correct me there. So he did not live in Zambia. He lived in the US. He spent several years in the US. The 1996 clause of the Constitution said that a person needed to be domiciled in Zambia for the past 20 years, which means technically Nevas Mumba did not then qualify, because what is 20 years from 96? When you go back, 86, 10 years, 76. So Nevas Mumba needed to demonstrate that he was domiciled in Zambia for 20 years prior to 96. And he filled out that very form, okay? The domiciled in Zambia form when he stood. So the question is, could you have challenged him on that because of the requirements to be domiciled in Zambia for 20 years? All right. And so the other thing is, the form does say that you have to be Zambian, and you have to say that my father was a Zambian. Now, of course, Kenneth Kaunda did not stand in 96. Maybe he was fearing that form. That's why, as lawyers, there is something that we deal with known as factual reality, something that is a fact, and something that is legal. So something can be factual, but it can be legal, and these two facts can contradict. So in the event that a fact and the legal truth contradict, the legal truth wins. Okay? I'm not sure whether this is making sense. So if in 1996 there is a question on the form that asks whether your father was a Zambian and you are Kenneth Kaunda, factually, your father was not a Zambian, right? But legally, your father was a Zambian. Does that make sense? Legally, the reason why your father was a Zambian legally is because the court considers your father, who was Malawan, to have been Zambian. Okay? Or the court says that before 1964, there was no Zambia. Therefore, the question that asks whether your father was a Zambian should be answered in the affirmative because there was no Zambia before 1964. You see that? So sometimes a factual truth may contradict with a legal truth. So what is the truth that you need to put on the form? It's the legal truth, right? It's the legal truth. Right? What was with the original question for the Constitutional Court to change it, and did the judgment mention the name of the president? Kindly advise. I understand one of the lawyers is the one who is saying this. He's a very well-respected lawyer, and it really shocks me because no, okay, that is not the issue at all. Judges, a lot of times they change questions very regularly. Practically all the time. Judges everywhere, they change questions. When you go to a judge, you ask one question, a judge can look at it and say, oh, you were asking this question, but we can't answer that question because it's either a stupid question, it does not make sense, it is not the right question. What you actually meant to ask is this, and here is the answer. Judges do that all the time. Did it mention the name of the president? No, in fact, the judges say, don't even mention the president. They did not even want to hear anything to do with the president. Okay. Conrad Chesumpa, Alen Letenidia Shamtishan.
Okay, I think my comment on this is that these people from PF don't really understand one thing, that the constitution cannot be backdated. Like, you can't apply. Okay, what happened in 2015 when Edgar Lungu was being elected was that it was the rules of 1996 constitution that got Lungu into office. At that time, it was a thing where even if you get elected today and decide to resign after 1 week, it will still be counted as a term, something like that. But in 2016 constitution, it talks about, maybe, I don't know the number of, like, according to the way the court interpreted it, it's about how long you serve or how many years, or whether it's 3.5 or that. So based on that, I think the Patriotic Front, together with Edgar Lungu himself, has continued lying to the people of Zambia that they declared him eligible to stand in 2021. Something, I don't know if you have seen the video that is circulating in the media.
I don't think, Conrad, I agree. But I don't think we are really listening to each other about this. So there is a group that is saying, that's it. It doesn't qualify. And it's very difficult to find middle ground, and I'm trying to propose a middle ground here. Hopefully it works. Chileshe.
Evening, Mr. Monsha. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm fine. With regards to this third term debate that's currently going on, I think it just demonstrates the desperation by the Zambian people to not have President Lungu serving them for a further 5 years. Yeah. But that being said, it's not really based on legalities. It's just the desperation of the level of suffering people have been going through. And I think they just cannot face another 5 years of President Lungu. But I don't see anything wrong with him standing. And I think as people go to vote, they need to remember their suffering and make the right decisions, whichever decision that might be. But I certainly wouldn't be advocating or, saying go ahead and vote for President Lungu again, because the administration has been a shambles. And I think that's what this whole debate is centered on. It's the fear of 5 more years of looting, 5 more years of no jobs, 5 more years of cadarism. That's what the issue is, rather than a third term. I think had we had a better president, this wouldn't really actually be a discussion. And with regards to the Danny Pule court case, I think it's only worth discussing if there is an appeals process. If there isn't a way of appealing this decision, it's really something that's dead in the water. It's not really worth having an argument about. Now, I don't know how the legal structures work with regards to the Concord. I'm not sure if there is a level above that. If there isn't, it's really
there is no
a
appeal.
waste. Exactly. So if there's no appeals process, it's not really worth having a discussion about. What we need to be focusing on now is registering to vote. We need to be thinking about what we want for the future and the sort of leadership that we want, because clearly the Lungu administration has not been good for Zambia. It has not been good for democracy or anything else really, except for the minority of people that are enjoying, that are living a good life. But I think as human beings, we should always try and go beyond our own lives.
Yeah, I agree, Chileshe. And thank you for that insight. Very insightful, Chileshe. Mutoki, are you there?
Hello?
Hello, yes, sir.
Yes, you... Oh, 3 years, Mr. Mush.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You are very clear. Okay, I think we've lost Mr. Mtoki. Okay, Mr. Lungu is confident that he will stand. He was finishing the third term for Mr. Sata. Your comment? No, I've already commented on this. I'm not going to comment again. All right. It would be nice to have Mr. Sangwa debate with you. You guys want to put me in trouble. Why should I debate Mr. Sangwa? No. I've already lost. Even before the debate starts, I've lost. So no, I'm not going to debate him. Yeah, I'm not going to debate him. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. 1 hour, 22 minutes. It's like time flies very fast when we are talking. Thank you so much for joining me. And I know this is going to create a little bit of things, but yeah, that's my opinion on this question. But register to vote out the PF thieving government. I call them at Kongola Twive. So let's vote out the Kongola Twive government in 2021. Register as many people as possible. Help somebody out. Go and line up, long lines. Let us just do the right thing and register as voters and everything else. Thank you so much, and see you very soon, Zambia. Okay, thank you. Bye.